With riding season just around the corner, you or someone you know might be getting ready to start riding. My suggestion, start on a cheap bike. Stick around to the end of the video and I'll give you a couple of examples on cheap bikes you can pick up now that'll last you through your learning process. First off, let's define cheap. We're not talking about a junker, but something affordable. A bike you can thrash on and afford to repair when stuff breaks. Do some research, look at the price of a clutch kit, brakes, handlebars, bar ends, frame sliders, crash bars, or worse, engine side cases if you happen to lay it down without protection. Chances are you're going to be picking up a used bike and it may already have crash protection on it, which is a plus, and it'll save the thing in case you dump it. You're going to be learning, you're going to be doing stuff that you're not quite sure of yet. Chances are you're going to lose your balance, fall over, and ding up the bike. It happens, don't worry about it. That's why we get cheap bikes to begin with. A major plus to saving money on the startup cost of buying a bike leaves you more money for gear. Now, I wouldn't overkill gear at first. You shouldn't need knee pucks or leather daddy chaps for your first few weeks. But you're going to want a pair of decent gloves, a good helmet, preferably a jacket, and some riding shoes, because that ankle protection, if you happen to go down, is well worth the money. Now you're ready to look at different types of bikes. Choose a bike that's going to fit your needs once you start getting out there on the bike. You don't want to do just fine learning in a parking lot and then figure out that your bike is not going to handle your daily tasks. Once you learn the ropes and how not to fall down at stoplights, will you be commuting, strictly riding on surface streets, will you be riding some highway, or Lord help you, the interstate? Because fairing bikes are going to handle wind speeds a lot better and put a little less wind on your body than a naked bike or a cruiser. Now, this next point doesn't necessarily go along with cheap, but pick a bike that's comfortable to get on and off of. A low seat height means you've got less distance to fall should you drop the bike on low speed stuff while you're learning. A low seat height also generally means lower center of gravity, making balance less of an issue on those low speed maneuvers. Along those same lines, a taller seat like an ADV bike or an enduro bike gives gravity just a little more leverage on how hard you and the bike are going to hit the ground. It also means a higher center of gravity, which makes balance that much more important of a skill for low speed maneuvers. Along with that, the weight of the bike comes into play. A low slung heavy bike is going to be really easy to keep upright on low speed maneuvers, whereas a heavy bike with a high seat height is going to be a little more top heavy, and it's going to be a little more cumbersome to try and learn if you're just learning how to straddle two wheels. A lighter bike is also going to be a little easier to get off your leg should it land on you, but it's going to suffer a little more to the wind at highway speeds. Once you get out on the highway, you'll know what I mean. Now at this point, you have some idea of what you might like to ride, and this is where I would suggest that if you have friends that ride, ask to sit on their bikes. See what feels comfortable to you. You may love the looks of a Gixxer and have squid blood running through your veins, but if you're more comfortable on a standard bike or something low slung, it may be your better choice to start with. When you're getting started, being comfortable on a bike lets you focus on the things you should be learning, like throttle control, braking, the friction zone, and balance, instead of how to keep your wrists or back from hurting while you're riding. Now here are some good examples of affordable bikes to get you started. At the time of recording this video, you can grab an old cruiser or a standard bike for $2,500 or less. Anything from a Honda Rebel or Shadow, Suzuki Boulevard or GS, a couple of Yamahas, heck, even Royal Enfields and Triumphs can be found in that price range in pretty good shape. You can even find the occasional smaller sport bike in this range too. Although starting on a sport bike, keep in mind that when you accidentally drop this thing, it's going to mess up your fairings, so you're going to have to look at either fairing repairs, selling it with broken fairings and trying to explain that to the next guy, or buying a new fairing set before you turn the bike over. Moving on up, I would say a ceiling price for a learning bike would be like $4,000 to $5,000. In this range, WR250s make a solid platform to beat around and learn, and you can ride in the dirt, which makes falling hurt just a little bit less. You can also get into some cleaner and likely better maintained standard and cruiser bikes, along with better access to sport bikes that might not have been whiskey throttled into the side of a building. Now for engine size, I will go a little bit against the grain here and give you my personal opinion. Lots of people tell you not to start on a 600. I would agree with that to some extent. Yes, you can get a bigger bike with rider modes and tone it down, but that also gives you that chance of getting overconfident, putting it in A mode, and then eating yourself into orbit. For in-city commuting where speed's not really a concern, but miles per gallon may play a bigger part in your decision, I'd say a 125 to 300cc is probably enough to keep you ahead of traffic and give you enough power for those urges to go wide open without getting into too much trouble. If you're going to be out on the highway more as you begin riding, I'd raise the minimum to like a 300cc. You can definitely run the speed limit on a 300, regardless of what Uncle Tommy told you. And it's going to have enough power to keep you in front of traffic, more than enough power to get you into trouble. And for the interstate, which I strongly suggest you steer clear of those speeds if you're beginning to ride. A 400 to 500cc is plenty to hit speed, but not enough that Johnny Law is going to be eyeballing you every time you ride by. And looking forward to the future, if you can end up with a cleaner bike to start with, and you can take care of it, and whatever drops may happen don't damage the bike too much, once you get some miles under your belt and you have things under control, it'll be easy enough to unload your bike to the next beginner rider, and you can move on to a bigger, more powerful machine. In closing, choose a bike that you can handle, not only in power but also weight. Start slow and be safe. You can always get another bike, but you only get one body. As always, guys, stay safe, stay sane, and we'll catch you next time.